Hi everyone, today I'm talking more favorites from the drugstore. I did this maybe half a year ago and I've got more things to talk about, so let's get into them. One area that the drugstore has really struggled with over the years is highlighters. I feel like it's really difficult to find good ones there, and there just aren't a lot of brands that put them out. So I'm really happy to say that I've got two of them that I've been loving for quite a while now. The first one I ever discovered was this Hard Candy Tiki bronzer. This fits into their bronzer range, but it is obviously not a bronzer. This is absolutely wonderful. It's a beautiful champagne colored that actually works, and I say that like that because so many highlighters from the drugstore I felt were either like not effective enough or too glittery or chunky. This one is perfectly smooth, has a beautiful sheen to it, and this thing is huge. It has 12.5 grams of product, which is absolutely enormous. So I think the Hard Candy brand is only available at Walmart, at least to my knowledge. That's the only place you can get them at now. I'm sure there's places online too, but this is well worth checking out because I believe it's under 10 bucks and it's enormous and gorgeous. Now, I've had that Tiki highlighter for quite a while, but one that's more recent that's gotten me really excited is the Essence Pure Nude highlighter. And this is the shade 10 Be My Highlight. As far as I know, they only have one shade though. And when I first looked at this, I was like, oh god, no. Like, this is too dark. It's almost verging on bronzer territory for my skin. Now, I'm not sure how that's translating on camera. In the viewfinder, it looks quite bright, but that's because I've got white lights shining at me. In person though, this looks quite deep for my skin tone. But the first time I tried it, I was really skeptical, but it was beautiful. This has a gorgeous, gorgeous sheen to it that I just wasn't expecting from a product that looked like this in the pan. So I'm really happy that Essence has put out this highlighter, especially considering it's a very cheap price point. I think this thing is only $5, which is really, really nice. One of the items that you may have seen me use constantly in my eyeshadow tutorials is a white base. Now, my first ever love was the NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencil in Milk. This is a brand new one, actually. I think I've used it maybe once. And it's really just a cream shadow stick. Now, when you apply this to your lid, you don't keep it as stark white as this, and maybe it's supposed to be used purely as an eyeshadow, but I know practically everybody, and myself included, uses this as a eyeshadow base. I'll apply this after primer, but before my shadows, and it just really helps create a blank canvas for my brightly colored eyeshadow. So this works out wonderfully, and I don't have it crease on me when I use it in conjunction with an eyeshadow primer. This one is actually my second pencil because I ran through my entire first one. Actually, I think I got like down to here and was like, okay, I've had it for a few years, I need to throw it out. So it does last quite a long time too. The other white eyeshadow base that I've been using more recently is one by Essence, and this is their Smoky 2-in-1 Kohl Liner. It is the shade White, how appropriate. I will say that the format of this is terrifying. I don't like the shape of this product, but for what I use it for, which is not to line my eyes, it's perfectly fine. So I use it the exact same way that I do with the NYX eyeshadow base, and I just layer that onto my lids and then blend it out with my fingers in order to get a white canvas for my brightly colored eyeshadows. This is actually one that I use underneath my eyeshadow today. Because of the shape of this though, I would encourage you to be very gentle with it. Don't go on like straight on. You have to like sideways like layer it so that you don't snap it off the base. But depending on what brand you have access to, these work exactly the same for me. One of the products that I was super skeptical about when I first swatched it was the Maybelline Dream Velvet Foundation in the shade 10 Porcelain Ivory. When I first swatched this on my arm, I looked at the color and went, there is no chance that this is going to work for me. It looks incredibly orange and not like my skin tone. And yet, it really, really works. I don't know what is in this product, but as soon as I got it on my face, it starts to match my skin color. When I first put this on my arm, it looks nothing like my own skin tone, but in practice, this works out really, really nicely. It's also an incredibly comfortable foundation to wear. It's kind of a thicker, moussey cream texture, so it blends out really nicely with a damp beauty sponge, which is what I always use. And the thing I really like about this too is that because it's in this like squeeze tube plastic packaging, It's so convenient for travel. I never have to worry about like a bottle breaking on me. And I mean, even if like something happened and a lot of pressure was applied to it and it broke somewhere, it's not going to be as disastrous as like a piece of glass breaking in your luggage. So I really love traveling with this thing, and every time I use it, I'm still shocked by the fact that it matches my face. One of the products I got recently reintroduced to, and I can't believe I'd completely forgotten about it, was the Physicians Formula Eye Booster Pen. This is obviously from the drugstore, but I think it's the only drugstore liquid liner that has a brush tip. Not a felt tip, a brush tip. This has a very fine pointed tip that are actually bristles. And my God, if you can name another drugstore brand that has a brush tip, please tell me, because I would like to try it out. But when I first found this years and years ago, I was like, oh, like where has this been my whole life? Since then, I've used like the Kat Von D one, the Art Deco one, and I always go back to that brush tip, but it's really nice to have an option from the drugstore because it's the best. A brush tip is the best in my opinion, and I'm so glad that it is easily accessible. Of course, Physician Formula is a bit more of an expensive brand, but considering that it is so hard to find brush tips, I think that this is well worth your money. Man, I had no idea how much essence I had in this video until I started talking about the products. But the last item I have to discuss are the Essence Silky Touch blushes. I was introduced to these years ago, and they have not failed me since. I have the shade Autumn Peach, and then this one is Life's a Cherry. Beautiful. They are so gorgeous. This one in particular is flawless on my skin as far as I'm concerned. And when I want something a little bit brighter, I'll go for this more cherry toned one. Oh, they're so nice. They blend on the skin beautifully. They are gorgeous in color tone. You can really build it up to get quite a heavy look if you want that, but you can also blend them out and make them a little bit sheer. I even like the packaging. I think that this kind of like clear acrylic container is really, really nice. And they're so small and they're easy to travel with too. These are also incredibly cheap. I think they're either $2.99 or $3.99, so you are afforded the luxury of buying a few shades if you are interested in trying them out. All right, that's it. Those are my more recent favorites. Well, to be honest, some of these are more long-term favorites as well from the drugstore. They're just ones I've thought of recently. I hope you enjoyed hearing about them, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.